There we are. Okay. So when you switch on your Windows 11, like I said, this area that we see, the blue area, we refer to it as a desktop. And then these little things that you see on your desktop are then referred to as icons. The very first icon that we see there is called a recycle bin. So this recycle bin contains everything that has been deleted from this computer. So if something disappears, you just consider that you might have deleted it by mistake, and you will be able to find it in the recycle bin. But the things that you delete from second storage, then they're permanently deleted because they're not part of the computer's memory. So that means if you delete from cloud storage, that's not part of computer's memory, it will be gone forever. Or if you insert a memory stick and delete from it, it will be gone forever. But if I delete something from this computer by mistake, then what will happen? Let's say I did not mean to delete that file. This was on the actual computer. Then I will be able to find it in the recycle bin and restore it, okay? Then I can right click and say restore, and then the folder is back in. At the bottom here, this area, we call it a taskbar. The first key on that taskbar with 4 squares, it's called a start button. Those 4 squares, we refer to them as a Windows logo. Okay? Then a start button will enable you to access your search as well as the applications that are installed in this computer. You see that you have all apps. Everything that's installed in this computer, you will be able to see it on all apps on the start button. What we are able to do also on a start button, that we call a power button. In a power button, you can put your computer to sleep. That's when you don't want it shut down, restarted. You just want the screen to be blank so that no one can see what you are doing when you are not busy on the computer and you've stepped outside, right? And then shut down, this is a recommended way of shutting down a computer rather than just switching it off on the wall. So you would have to go to start, power button, and then shut down. So if you shut it this way, then all the programs close one by one and slowly at a pace that your system software can handle. So if you are the person that shuts down the computer at the wall outlet or the power button that's on your system, that means you are for stopping everything. And then a computer that is shut down that way, then it doesn't last long. If your computer was meant to have a lifespan of 5 years and then you shut it down the wrong way, then it might just last a year or 2. So those are for you guys that are going to buy yourself laptops to work from home. So just get yourself used to shutting down from start, power button, and then shut down. And sometimes a computer hangs and then you just don't know what's going on. Then you can restart a computer so that it can reboot itself, breathe again, and you try and see if that problem is sorted out. Okay. And then next to the start button, we have a search box. This search allows us to search for anything that is inside a computer. So let's say that you are trying to locate a calculator. You do remember installing it, but you don't know where it is in a calculator. So there's no need for you to go search each and every file that is on the computer, all the drivers and devices, looking for a calculator. You can just come on the search box and type in what you are looking for. So notice, as soon as I type in CA, all the search results that starts with letter CA then pop up, right? Luckily, the one I'm looking for is right on top, so there's no need for me to finish and type in calculator because I can see that it's right on top. So I'm going to click to open a calculator. So we call these boxes that keep on popping a dialog box. So a dialog box, it's part of a computer and it has its own functionality. Obviously, this calculator dialog box, then it's there to help us calculate, right? And then every dialog box comes with these 3 icons on the top right-hand corner. The first one is for minimize. The square middle one is to make your dialog box bigger or smaller. So you can maximize or restore it. And the last one is to close it. So the X is to close. So, but then what if you make use of this calculator regularly? You would want easy access to it rather than always having to search for it every time you want to use it. You will see on our taskbar, we have some things that are pinned on the taskbar there. Chrome is pinned there, Microsoft Edge is pinned, File Explorer is pinned. This is for easy access. So we're going to do the same for the calculator. And then also notice that that Chrome, I know it's open, I didn't close it because there's a gray underline underneath it, as well as Camtasia and the File Explorer. So I'm going to open the calculator again. Okay, so I want easy access to this calculator. So rather than me having to search for it every time I want to use it, because this is something that I use regularly, I'm going to pin it on the taskbar. Okay, remember your mouse has a wheel in the middle, and then there are two buttons on the sides. We have a left click and a right click, right? A right click is what we make use of if you want a short menu of options. So that means I can do 1, 2, 3. A left click, if you click just once, you'll see that I've just selected a recycle bin, but nothing happened to it, but it's highlighted. So that's when you click on an icon just once. But if I go and double click, that means click, then it opens. I just performed an action. So what I want now is a menu of options on this calculator. So I'm going to do a right click. Right click, and one of the options there is to pin to taskbar. Okay, you pin to taskbar, and then if I go and close it now, it's part of the taskbar as a shortcut for easy access. Do notice that if you get used to pinning everything on a taskbar, even the things that you don't do every day, then you're going to cluster it and it will be hard for you to find it. As many, you can get as many as you want to, but then they're going to just end up in just vertical lines. You won't even notice what is it that you pinned there. So, but how do I get rid of a program on a taskbar now if I don't use it often, or I've stopped using it regularly and I don't want it part of the taskbar anymore? I want to decluster my taskbar. I'm going to go and unpin it. Form a right click again. Then I will go back, right click, and say unpin from taskbar. All right. So next to the search button, then we have chat, and then this little icon that is yellow, we call it a file explorer. This is where we're going to do our file management. Okay. File management will help us to categorize and manage our files so that everything is organized in your computer, rather than all your files just thrown in one place and you don't know where is what. Okay, so I'm going to open File Explorer, and there is the dialog box of a File Explorer. The area on top of your dialog boxes is called a ribbon. So when I tell you on a ribbon, look for this, then you know it's the area on top. Let me just maximize it. So this is the ribbon, and the area on the left-hand side, we call it a navigation area because it allows us to navigate from one place to the next. You will see I can move from desktop to downloads to documents. Just notice that when I click on desktop, then all the files and folders within desktop, then they show on the right-hand side. So this right-hand side area, we call it a file area because that's where we'll see folders and files that are in the location that I have selected. And then if we move to downloads, again, I see the files and folders that are inside the downloads. Pictures, there we have folders and a file that is inside the pictures location, and they show in this file area. And then this PC, we call it root directory. It is a root directory of all your devices and drives that are inside this computer. And the drive that we always going to work inside is called a T drive. So if you get a question that tells you you have to do something inside a T drive and you don't see where it is, always remember that it will be in a root directory called this PC. And then again, in a question, if I talk about a root directory, then you need to know that I'm talking about this PC. Are we clear on that? Okay. So, and then we also have this address bar here. It will always tell you where you are inside a computer, right? You will see at this moment, I'm just inside this PC. I haven't gone anywhere further. And then we also have the search. It works the same as that search on the taskbar, but this search will only search the area that you have selected instead of the entire computer. The search on the taskbar goes inside the whole computer and look for what you've typed, whereas the search here will only search this PC. Are we clear? Because I have selected this PC. So a question comes now and says we should create a folder named Practical Assignment 1. It should be on the T drive inside a folder called Student Files. Okay, so what are folders and files? These are the things that are going to help us organize our work. So that is your file management. So I'm on this PC, T drive. Notice that on the address bar, then it shows me that I'm on T drive. I'm looking for student files. There I am, and it also shows I'm on student files. Whilst I'm on student files, I'm expected now to create my own folder for Practical 1, so that everything that I'm going to do of Practical 1 will be saved within the Practical 1 folder. Okay, so let's see, where will we do that? On the ribbon, the very first icon is New. You will click on New and say New Folder. We're going to name this Practical space assignment space 1. Okay, so when I tell you to create a folder and give it a certain name, you're going to type exactly what you see, even if you feel that I've made a mistake, because then the computer will mark you according to what I typed, right? So even though computers are smart, they're still controlled by humans. Okay, so if I tell you to type Practical 1 with capital letter P and capital letter A, and you decide to make it small assignments, I've already instructed that it should be capital letters. So if you come and type here, then it reads small letter P, small letter A, but I've told it to mark capital letter P and capital letter A, then you're going to get it wrong. Are we clear on that? So you type exactly what you see, even if you feel that, okay, this is a spelling error. Let's say I have missed a G there, and you feel this is a spelling error, do not fix it on your side. You type exactly what you see on my questions. And then that space also is a character. So if I've included a space on the naming, you also include a space. And if there was no space, let's say I just had that, and there was no space between assignment and 1, you also omit the space, because then the computer, when it comes, reads this, it's Practical space assignment 1. But this is Practical space assignment space 1. So that space is a character. Are we clear on this? So we do get a lot of students that would have failed and said, I did everything right. And most of the times they were just misspelling or trying to correct spelling errors or omitting spaces. Yeah, so just be careful. You look at the question and type exactly what you see on the question. All right, so we have our folder. An alternative, okay, we'll do an alternative later. So now we're going to learn how to copy something from a certain location to another location, right? We are required to copy from maybe desktop and save whatever we've copied in a Practical 1 assignment, okay? Another word for copy, I can say duplicate. They are synonyms, right? So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm now on desktop. Let's say I was asked to copy test 4 info, okay? So I'm going to come here, select it, left click once, and then it's selected. See the difference? Notice that your ribbon is deactivated when nothing is selected, because there's no need for it to be activated because you haven't selected anything for you to work on. But as soon as I go and select test 4, then the ribbon is activated, because now it realizes that you're about to work on that file. So you'll get your scissors for cut. Then we have those squares, that's for copy. Okay? You click on that icon for copy. Now we're going to go search for the T drive, and then student files, there's our Practical 1. I'm going to paste this, and then the paste icon is that one with a clipboard behind and then a rectangle in front. But when you put your mouse cursor on it, you'll always know where you are. You'll see that there's a wet paste on top of it. Okay? And then there is test 4 info on Practical 1. If I go to desktop, I'll still find it there, because the question said copy, right? It wasn't remove, it wasn't delete, it didn't say cut. It said copy or duplicate. So that means we created a twin. I should have this file on 2 different locations. And what about a cut? Okay. So now let's say a question says you need to cut this, let's see, what can we cut? The signature. We're going to cut it and put it on the same Practical assignment 1. So now, if you don't want to use a ribbon, you can always make use of a right click. You have to find a method you are more comfortable with. On a right click, I have access to the things that are on the ribbon, okay? So you will see there's a scissor. So it's the same one as there. So you decide whether you're going to use a ribbon or you're going to use a right click. And you will see when I put my mouse cursor on the scissor, it tells me a shortcut method, also the short keyboard method. So if I don't want to make use of either the right click and the ribbon, I can always use of my keyboard and press Control and the letter X on the keyboard. So I will use this one, and then we're going to go back to my T drive, student files folder, practical assignment 1, and then instead of a paste now, which I don't see, there is the paste, I'm going to use Control V on the keyboard. Remember, you can go paste on the ribbon, you can right click and use that one, or alternatively on your keyboard, I press CTRL and the letter V, and that thing has been pasted. But notice this question said cut. I will no longer find that signature on desktop because we have cut it. So the question in this case will say either cut or remove or move. So it will be cut and paste, move, or no, remove will be delete. So do not confuse copy and cut as the same. So if we say copy, that's different from saying move. When I move you from the class, that means we can't find you there again, right? But if I say copy, that means we're creating a clone. You will be in that place and the other place. All right. And then deleting, it's easy. We can delete now. Let's delete that untitled. So untitled project TS, I can just go and click on the dustbin there for delete, okay? Or I can do it on a right click, there's the dustbin for delete. Or I can also delete it from the keyboard. There's a key that's written delete on it on the keyboard. I can just press on it, it will also be deleted. Remember, because I deleted from computer's memory, if that was a mistake, I will find them in the recycle bin. And then we can restore it by right-clicking and saying restore. Then those files will be back where they were deleted. So it's these three, okay? How did I go about selecting all three at the same time? I just went on the left of the first one, left-click my mouse and hold it while I drag down, and all three were selected. Or I can select one of them, press Control and hold on the keyboard, select the first one and the third one, and then I have multi-selected. Or if I want from screenshot 2 up to Word, I can select the first one, press Shift on the keyboard and then the last one, and everything between the first and the last will be selected together. Then Control and the letter A on your keyboard selects everything that is within that recycle bin. So let me restore these files that I just deleted from desktop. I've selected all three, right click, and then I will say restore. So they're going to disappear on the recycle bin, but I will find them back on the desktop so that's if you had done this by mistake. I repeat, if you delete from secondary storage, that's your cloud, your memory sticks, then you've permanently deleted something, right? So just keep that in mind. And then how do we compress? When you compress something, that's when you want multiple files in one folder or one file. So compressing something or zipping it then it reduces the size and makes it easy to upload as well as download files, either on the internet. Most of the times when we upload and download, that's on the internet. So let's go back to our T drive. I'm going to go to student files. Let's say I want to take MEN1, CECL, as well as household income and compress them into one file. I'm going to go to MEN1 picture, press Control on my keyboard because I'm going to select more than one file. Control and hold, so I'm keeping my finger on Control. I will then take sales and household income files. So 3 files have been selected. I will go to any of them and right click. And then this option there is to compress to zip file. Okay? Compress to zip file. So the question can say compress or zip. They mean the same. So there it is. Then on the questions, I will also tell you whether you should change the name or leave it as it is. Okay, let's change this one to a demo. and then it's now demo.zip. It sees this as one file, even though it's containing 3 files inside, right? So if I go and open this, there are my 3 files. So let's say you want to send someone a lot of files via the email, including a video and some pictures. It will be advisable for you to compress before you go and attach them. Then it's going to be faster and easier to then attach them on an email, and then it will be easier for them also to download them because it just sees one file. And then they will have to decompress in order to access the files and work on them, right? So how do we decompress? You go to the compressed folder, you right click and say extract all. So extract all function is to decompress or unzip, okay? I will say extract all and say extract. So now I have an extracted demo. I also have a zipped one, but I will be able to now at least watch a video that is inside a decompressed folder. I will, however, not be able to watch a video that is inside a compressed folder because it sees it as one file. And if I try to make changes on a file that is inside a compressed folder, I won't be able to save changes. In order for me to listen to a song that was inside a compressed folder or watch a video or make a change on a certain file, I will have to unzip it first, and then I work within what's unzipped. I will clear on this. Okay. And then let's now create a folder inside a certain folder. We had student files and practical assignment. Let's say we want to create another folder inside practical assignment. How did we do that? We went to new folder. An alternative can be a right click, new folder. So right click, ribbon, short key methods, you choose a method that you are most comfortable with. Then we will name this Q1. So because this folder is inside another folder, then we call it a subfolder. All right. So let's see. Okay, we have this. It's inside a folder called student file. That means this is also a subfolder. And then within this folder student files, we have subfolders as well as a whole lot of files. And then another question can be open a certain application and save it on a certain location by a given name, right? Let's say the question said we have to open Excel. Okay, there's Excel. You can find it pinned on your desktop or as a shortcut on a desktop or pinned on your taskbar. If you don't see it, you can always go search and then it will pull it out. Okay, there is my Excel. The question says I need to open a blank workbook. There is blank workbook, and then it's a dialog box again. You remember these boxes, we call them dialog boxes, right? And then on the dialog boxes, we have what we call tabs. I have a file tab here. There's a home tab, insert tab, page layout tab, the formulas tab, etc. The file tab, the very first one, takes us to what we call a file backstage view. Okay? So this area is a file backstage view. On the file backstage view, you can export this and make it a PDF. You can share and send it directly on an email or put on OneDrive. Okay? That OneDrive that you see there, that's cloud storage by Microsoft. Remember we worked with cloud storage last week, but we used Drive. So Drive is cloud storage by the name for Google. It's owned by Google and they name their cloud storage Drive. Microsoft also has cloud storage and their name for their cloud storage is called OneDrive. So if you go and save your things here, that means you are saving on the internet. You have to have an account. So that means you would have to have credentials such as your username as well as password. So OneDrive works the same as your Drive, just different names by different companies. Okay, so we want to save this workbook on T drive. So we're going to say save as. I will say this PC because I know T drive is on this PC, and there's my T drive. Now the question says you need to name this max.xlsx. Okay, so that last part there, .xlsx, is called a file extension. It just tells you, the end user, that this is an Excel document, right? So if you see a file ending with a .docx, you know this is a Word document. If it's a .pdf, you know that this is an Adobe And then if it's a PPTX, then you know that this is a PowerPoint. So that means that file extension is to tell the end user, this is what I'm working with. But when I tell you to go save this as max.xlsx, so that means that part of the file extension is to tell you that it's an Excel, but you do not type it in. You never type in a file extension because Windows does it automatically. But on the questions, on your test questions, on your practical, it will say save it as max.xlsx. As someone that's doing computer literacy, you do need to know your file extensions. You don't type it in. Just remember that when we say save, you will see that Windows did type it on its own. So if you type it, you've done work for Windows, but it's still going to do its own work. Then it will be two file extensions. It's going to say .xlsx.slxx, and then ECLA comes in to try to mark you, and it can't find that file, and then it's going to mark you wrong. When you save files, I repeat, do not type in the file extension. Are we clear? But you will see the file extension as part of the question. Are we clear on this? So we've saved this file on T drive. Let's go to T drive and see if we will find it there. T drive marks, there it is. And then with its file extension, even though we did not type in the file extension. All right. How do we rename? Let's say you made a mistake that was meant to say semester marks, but you've already written it marks, right? Can you give this a different name? Yes. It's selected, and then when you go to that icon on your ribbon, it's for renaming. You can also find it on your ribbon. There's rename. It has letter A inside it, or you can click on it twice slowly, and then it will activate a rename. Remember, if I click twice fast, then it's going to open it, right? But I clicked twice, just slowly, not too slow. And then it also reactivated a rename. Just find a method you're comfortable with. You could have still used the A there or right click. Then we can say semester marks. And then I just fixed the name of that folder. So there's no need for me to go delete it and start the whole process from scratch just because I got the name wrong.